why don't we take care of the problem rather than the symptom? You know, you've got these symptoms which are, you know, that you're angry and you want this person dead. Well, what can you do inside of yourself or in your life to avert situations where you're going to be drawing these kinds of negative people towards yourself? And what can you do to get yourself out of that negative cycle?
Very good. Okay, EA, it's that time again, but we will be right back with a much longer segment. EA Koetting, Eternal Ascent Publications.com. Stay tuned, Truth Brigade Radio. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight, Truth Brigade, on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. If you would like to join us for the text chat tonight, that's over at truthbrigade.com. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call at 402-237-2525. That's 402-AFR-2525. EA Koetting, Eternal Ascent Publications.com. Practical Spirituality and Black Magick tonight. And EA, you know, I asked you about the contracting thing because I had an experience with, I guess, what we would call Black Magick. And this was my first experience. And I have to be honest with you, before then, I guess I was of the lines of what Paracelsus writes about. And that, you know, well, I mean, I could read the quotes, but basically, you know, it can't affect you. And that's really what I thought. And one day, I got hit. Well, I didn't get hit with anything physical, but I ended up on the ground. It felt like an arrow in my hip, and I'm like, damn, I'm on the floor with my children and two other women. We were visiting, we were actually in Louisiana, and anyways, so I guess it ends up being what was called a poison arrow. So I came home and I'm like, I'm going to find out all about this stuff. And I start Googling it, and all I find is like some hairband rock band, you know, in the 80s, and couldn't really find any material about it. And then a couple friends referred me to like Santeria and Voodoo, and oh my gosh, you're in New Orleans, and you know, and so that brings me to, you know, you are a high initiated high Hungan Haitian priest, and I understand that while in New Orleans, what they call voodoo or whatever has connections to the Haitian religions, they're not exactly the same. Can you please explain about that and how you became an initiated high priest?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to go ahead and first address the first thing that you said, which is that people have this myth of that if you don't believe in it, it can't affect you. Well, when you really start dealing with a lot of people who are really deeply entrenched in magic, especially those like myself who you know, will contract their services out, they don't let anybody know, and they'll go to painstaking degrees to make sure that the victim does not know that they're working upon them. Because as soon as, I mean, if somebody came to me and said, I'm going to put a curse on you, well, okay, first thing I do is start meditating and putting up psychic barriers and maybe even doing a reversal work on that person.
Or mirrors.
Yeah, I mean, there are a million things you can do to negate any kind of magical attack. And so as a magician, if you're going to be affecting somebody, you don't want them to know about it at all. That is an extreme detriment to the work that you're trying to do. So that's a complete fallacy and has no basis in actual occult practice.
Okay, someone here is saying a fire dart, that was maybe a fire dart, so I understand there's different terminologies, and I'm not necessarily associating this with, you know, I don't know where it came from, but I know that I was there and that it happened, and then all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, opened up a whole new world to me. But, okay, so getting back to Hungan, you're a Hungan priest, right?
Right, yeah, I'm an initiated Hungan in Haitian Vodun, and that whole circumstance that brought me into Haitian Vodun is really interesting because I always stayed away from voodoo and Santeria and hoodoo because I was really into the mathematics of Western occultism, where if you lay out the mandala around you perfectly, and if you do these incantations and this rhythm meter, you can have these effects. And so voodoo was really a throwback to all of that, where it's like, hey, you stick a couple pins in this doll, and the person, starts writhing on the ground. So it really kind of messed with my entire system of understanding. Well, I started playing around with actually the ancient Mayan religion, and there's not a lot written about their actual practices. So I had to get into some historical texts and some anthropology work on the Mayans, and I pieced together a ritual of awakening the vision serpent. And there's bloodletting involved in that, and different invocations of certain gods that they worshipped at the time. And I repeated this. I spent probably months every day in just at the public library, just taking notes on everything and piecing together this ritual. So I finally got myself to perform it, and the experience that I had from that one ritual completely blew away everything that I'd ever done with Western magic, with evocations of spirits and all of that. The vision serpent definitely did come up and was in front of me and devoured me and took me to a different level of spiritual understanding entirely. So I really had to examine these so-called primitive religions might actually have something to them. And that led me into looking into Santeria, and I wrote a book, Baneful Magic. It's all about curses and using destructive magic against people. And I started playing with Santeria and voodoo while I was writing that book. And I basically called up an Eshu, which is a Santeria spirit of the crossroads. And I asked Eshu to bring into my life somebody who could teach me the deeper levels of voodoo. And it was only a few months later that I was contacted by Baron de Prince, who is a master Hungan, one of the most powerful Hungans on this world right now. And he said he had read my books, was well acquainted with what I was teaching, and that he thought he might be able to share some of his information with me. My first thought was, okay, well, this is somebody that might want to, ride on the coattails that I'm trying to get together here. I wasn't really interested, but he presented that we would write a book together, and that turned out to be The Spider and the Green Butterfly, which is a book about Haitian Vodun. He said, I'll give you all of my knowledge, and we'll write this book together. And I told him, well, here's the thing. If it turns out that your system isn't as great as you think it is, and if it's not as practical and usable as you're saying, I'm gonna out you. Basically, I'm gonna just completely I'm gonna throw it up, and I will publicly make it known that you're just full of it. And he said, yeah, that's fine. So he started sending me information on Haitian Vodun and being initiated into it and getting into the deeper levels of it. And basically each chapter we would write together, I would practice it myself and work through it myself and have the experiences. And it completely changed my entire view of spirituality. The beautiful thing about Haitian Vodun is that it recognizes the human element as a spiritual element. We have this idea in Western society that the spiritual and the physical are completely opposite, and that they're even at war with each other. That your spirit's, telling you, yeah, you do this, and your body's battling against it. In Haitian Vodun, there's no chasm like that. There's no real separation between the flesh and the spirit at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and But what was it that got you involved? I mean, why did you decide you wanted to be a Haitian Hungan priest?
Well, once I started getting that wrapped up in Vodun, it wasn't something that I could just switch off and say, well, that was a fun experiment. It was something that really became my religion, basically. Where at this point, that's mainly the ritual that I'll do in the ceremony, where I'll return to the Vodun current for whatever ceremonial celebrations that I'm doing, whatever interactions I'm having with spirits is through that system. And so as I got more and more deeply involved in Haitian Vodun, it just became completely natural to accept the invitation to become a Haitian Vodun and to help other people, not only through my writing but also through service, through spiritual service to others, and through teaching others these arts.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So then, I guess that's like a title. I mean, do you preach at a church? Can you kind of describe what basically the responsibilities now of being a priest?
Well, and the title of priest is going to be completely different in Vodun than it would be in, let's say, Catholicism. But as a Hungan, as a Vodun Hungan, your first responsibility is to the Loa, and the Loa are the intermediaries between God and man, and they in the Vodun theology, God the Eternal created all things, and then basically said, look, I've got other things to do. I can't just sit around watching over all this. So he put all of his power and all of his wisdom into these Loa, these spirits, and said, here, take my power, take my knowledge, and go make sure that everything runs okay in my absence. And so these spirits, these Loa, are here among us with all of the power of godhood, and not a whole lot of responsibility other than responsible to their devotees. So, as a Hungan, my first responsibility is to them and to the Loa, to bringing them into my life and working with them to increase my own knowledge and my own awareness of spirituality. And then my second obligation would be to people in my community, people who surround me, to use the spiritual influence and the spiritual knowledge that I have to help things in my community, and then to just keep reaching further and further outwards and helping others in whatever way that they might need help through what I've learned in this system.
Okay. Now, you mentioned blood sacrifice or animal sacrifice earlier. Is that one of the practices of this religion?
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. Now, it's not a practice that you're going to be sacrificing goats every Saturday night or anything like that. The sacrifices in Vodun are always of animals that you're going to eat. So, mostly it'll be chickens, roosters. In Haiti, they will actually sacrifice sheep and goats because they'll eat them. You'll take a food animal and sacrifice it. In Haiti, they'll drink the blood of the sacrificed animal as a sacrament rather than pretending like wine is blood. They actually will possess the food animal with the spirit of the entity that they're calling on. That animal will be possessed, and they'll spill its blood and drink it, and actually partake of the spirit of that deity. So it really kind of literalizes what has been symbolized in Western tradition. And the blood is also used. You'll sprinkle the blood around the veve, or the symbols that you draw for the spirits, call them down on the ground, and So yes, sacrifice is really an integral part of Haitian Vodun, but it really, if you're a solitary practitioner such as myself, I don't have a lot of people that I'll go do rituals with. So it's basically a personal thing for me, a personal celebration of life and spirituality for me. So